Yo, what's up guys, and today we're going to be talking more about Conway's Game of Life. If you guys don't know, I'm going to be making the Game of Life on my Minecraft computer, but I need to make it as fast and as efficient as possible for my computer to even run it. As I said before, even though the Game of Life is relatively simple, it runs a lot of instructions. Like for every of the 64 squares, the computer is going to have to check anywhere from 3 to 8 cells around it. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the things I can do to make this program, first of all, use less RAM and run much faster. So let's talk about memory. Because I'm working with an 8x8 simulation, I'm going to need at least 64 bytes of memory to run the Game of Life. Every cell is reliant on cells in the row above it and in the row below it. So what this means is I can't just modify a cell while checking it because it could impact other cells around it. Ideally, what I would need is some place to store this new cell, this modified cell. Then, once all the original cells have been checked, you can then replace the old ones with the new updated ones. And I can do this. I can have 64 bytes for the old 8x8 grid and 64 bytes for the new one. And then, once I've checked everything, move the new one to the old one. But this takes up a lot of RAM, about 1/4 of my computer's capacity, so I have found a much better way to do this. Earlier, I talked about how every single cell is affected by, of course, the cell to the left and to the right of it, but also cells in the row above it and below it. But what this also means is that any cell in a row 2 rows above it does not affect it at all. So using this information, I can make an algorithm where I only need 16 extra bytes of memory instead of 64. So I can store 2 temporary rows. And every time I move down a row, I can replace the row 2 above it. Now this way I'm using much less RAM. Now let's talk about making this run faster. Now what I can do, my first thought, was to have one single square coded. It was just a base square with 8 around it. And then of course I realized that I need to code in certain scenarios. Like if I was in a corner, I would only need to be reading 3. If I was on a side, I would only need to read, 5. But I realized that this is going to be a lot of if statements. And let's say I end up having 10 if statements for each cell. There are 64 cells, so that's a total of at least 640 extra steps. So what I realized I can do is instead of just having one cell preset, which is just a middle cell with a bunch of if statements, I can code each of the 9 different possibilities. And this way I don't have to have any extra if statements, and many of them aren't checking the total 8 cells. So most of them are actually going to be faster than average. The downside of this is that it's going to take up more code. Because there are 9 different scenarios, I'm going to have to code 9 times the amount of code. Using some clever functions, I can shave off a lot of this code. It's still going to be much more than the other option. But right now, I'd say my main concern is the speed of the program. So those are some ways that I could, 1, use up less RAM, and 2, make a faster program. But I'm probably going to make one more informational video before showing off the program, so stay tuned for that, and peace.